Thanks for stopping by. I'd like to preface this video by saying it is not a knitting tutorial, but it means to have something playing in the background while you work on your own project. If you're like me and really enjoy having something on while you work, sometimes the content you like is very visually engaging and you're several hours in and haven't gotten nearly as far along in your project as you would have liked to. So that's where I come in. If you're new here, welcome, and if you're returning, welcome back. You'll notice some background whirring noise. I have my window open. There's no breeze, and I also have my room fan that is on fan mode, not heater mode for once. It's usually on heater mode, but it's hot today. It's very warm, and it's funny because I feel like I am in the stifling heat in my upstairs, but this room is actually warmer than my bedroom, and I was in my bedroom quite a bit this afternoon because today, Sunday, is Father's Day, and I don't have a living biological father, but my uncle has been my legal guardian since I was 9, and he is my father. I don't think of him any less of a parent than a dad. And so I gave him a call today, and because we usually start yakking it up and getting really loud and stuff, so I was upstairs in my hot bedroom talking to my uncle for a bit. He's such a busy worker bee. He was actually driving up to the Home Depot to get some stuff because his sprinkler system was broken at my parents' house, or some of the little nozzles for the plant beds that my aunt has had broken, so he was out replacing those, and he said the hose burst, or at least the little hose that connects the wound up part to where the water comes out. That broke, so he was just doing some errands, and my cousin, who is his biological daughter, is going to make him hamburgers today, gourmet hamburgers. So he and my aunt are going to her house this afternoon. It's actually late here. It's around 6:30 or so in my town, but he's on the west coast, so he's 2 hours behind me. So he's probably getting ready to do dinner right now. And so since he wasn't actually at my parents' house, he was out and about, I called the house because my aunt sent me these really cute cat face masks, and I knew it. I was like, I saw a little alert that that a package was coming from my hometown, and I had a feeling it was going to be some face masks because she told me about this cat fabric she had that my cousin, her daughter, didn't want any face masks made out of that material, so she had so much she made me some. So I had 2 cute masks, and I just wanted to chat with her a little bit to say thanks again and talk with her since they weren't at the house together. And so funny because we ended up talking for about 2 hours, which was just about as long as we had talked the last time we had a phone conversation together. And it was funny because it kind of made me like tear up a little bit because she's like, oh, we keep saying, okay, I gotta go by, and then we keep talking after that. And she said, that reminds me of the conversations I used to have with your mom. And I was like, oh, because my parents are deceased, and it's nice to kind of have that little memory for her, that talking on the phone with her was like that, to remind her of my mother. So I thought that was very sweet. But yeah, I was on the phone for pretty much the afternoon, and then finally got off the phone, and it was getting late, so I started dinner, had dinner, and watched a couple YouTube videos, liked some photos on Instagram, and then I was like, oh wow, it's getting late, and because I have to go to work tomorrow, I should continue with my filming for my upload of the week. And fingers crossed, all of these actually upload on time. My partner, as you guys know, Monday last week, I didn't have a video, and holy, I'm glistening again. I didn't have a video last Monday because the uploading was taking forever, and literally that night when I tried again, I was uploading like the whole day, just a couple videos. I'm like, what's going on? This is crazy. So unfortunately, it took longer than I had wanted it to, but we finally got some videos up for the week, and now I am hoping that the ones that I have filmed from yesterday, which was Saturday, and today, Sunday, that they all get uploaded on the days of the week that they should. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday accordingly. So, long intro in. We are just, as the thumbnail has described, we're continuing to work on the bow that I have been attempting to make for my new friend, who hoping by now there are some suggestions for what they should be named, since it's still the weekend. I'm still filming, so I haven't had these uploaded yet to get a response, but I will show you guys. You kind of see it dangling here. So my attempt was more of like, let's get it all twisted the right way. I did like a flap. So we have what I would call more of a bow tie situation. So when it goes around their neck, we'll have one cute little bit hanging out and another bow bit here, and then a very thin part that goes around the neck of our friend. And I was working, so it was so funny because I started knitting this downstairs while I was editing the 2 videos that I filmed yesterday on Saturday, and I'm like, you know what, actually I want to do a little bit something else with this one. I don't want it to just be one wide band end to end. I want to do a decrease, and so have the thin part around the neck where you wouldn't really see it so much, and then have the action be the flappy parts, whatever the terms are for the flappy parts of the bow, and then go from there. So I was looking up this morning on how to do different kinds of increases and decreases so I could actually make sure the shape stays the way I want it to, which is like a gradual taper to the thinner part and then expand again to the wider part. So I'm pretty pleased with how it looks. And we're just gonna keep going along with our pattern. And I think I realized, okay, so if you guys remember yesterday, well, YouTube uploading time's all kind of wonky, but Saturday, the first time when I was working on this, and I mentioned how I wasn't sure how the slip stitch was going to turn out because it wasn't turning out. I don't think it was that I was knitting across the whole time. I think it was because I had my yarn. Here, I'll show you here. So I'm going to slip the first stitch. So if you haven't watched the previous video, I suggest you do that because I was kind of explaining a little bit more about my process here. But if I slip this, okay, I've split my yarn, but alright. If I slip this stitch, and if I have my yarn in front kind of, and then I knit my second, I wrap the yarn around that stitch I just slipped, so it does make that bump. So what I was doing was I wasn't bringing my yarn up and over to keep knitting across. I was bringing it back around to knit, And that's what was making that bump where I was like, hey, I don't think my slip stitch is working, what's going on here? Thinking I had to slip the last stitch too, but if I was never knitting it, then it wasn't going to, do anything. So I realized later this morning where my fault was yesterday when I started casting on this project. So now that I know what I did wrong, I think I will fix it at the end. Even though it won't look the same, I really want to make at least one bow look pretty the way that I have envisioned it in my head. So yes, so this is a seed stitch middle with a 3 knit, or at least a border of garter stitch, 3 stitches, with slipping the first stitch so that I have that pretty edge that I really like what the slip stitch does with that. So we knit our 3, and then of course if it's seed and I have a purl, I just knit that next one and then go across and my seed till I get to the end, and then the last 3 I knit the last 3. So I hope you're having a good day. I hope you had a good Father's Day if you celebrate. I know Mother's Day and Father's Day are kind of hard for me just because my parents have long been deceased, and my parents' parents that are alive have their own daughter, and it's not like we are treated any less, but you do have those, how they raised her versus how they raised my brother and I, and then you also have the fact that they have grandchildren and how they treat their grandchildren, and you think, oh, sometimes you feel like you missed out on some of that if you had your own grandparents to kind of dote on you, or your own mom and dad to treat you as their flesh and blood, which, or not. I mean, if you're adopted, I hope that you'd still have the same parental love that parents should be giving their children. So there's like some of that baggage that always comes around this time of year, but I am very thankful that they did choose to take on that sacrifice and that responsibility of raising a second family. They were already empty nesters when my brother and I came into their lives, and they really gave us a good solid base to bloom from and become our own people. So I'm very thankful for that, because I know a lot of people that grew up without their mom and dad and were raised by either foster parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, they were in the system, something like that, adoptive parents, and it didn't go well for them. They've had some bad things happen to them, some traumatic things, and I'm like, wow, I wouldn't know where I would be if I didn't have, that support system that basically chipped in to help raise my brother and I. So I'm very thankful that things turned out. I mean, were they perfect? No. But is anybody's perfect? No. But they could have been so much worse. I'm so thankful that nothing crazy terrible happened to us. So yeah, so it was a good time just to talk to my parents and catch up with them, see how they're doing. I mean, I literally just talked to them last month for Mother's Day, but it was nice to catch up again. They also are like, what the heck is going on in the world? They're doing all they can to still maintain social distancing, beyond my cousin, because if you guys had watched an earlier video, my parents are, or were, now the kids are on summer break, so they don't have to anymore, but they were homeschooling the kids while the classes were out, and everybody had to basically teach their kids or make sure their kids are doing all their schoolwork. And since my cousin had to still go into work, she couldn't work from home. My parents stepped in and were basically doing all the stuff that the moms and dads and other guardians would be doing had they been home to do so. And so one of my cousins kids would stay with my aunt and uncle the whole time, like every single day she was just there, and the other one liked to go home, so my cousin would pick them up in the pick them up in the afternoon, drop them off in the morning, and then do the same thing every day, and then the other one would stay there the whole time. And so now that it's summer, they don't have like summer camp or anything to do, so it's kind of like the same thing where they're with my parents most of the time, and then my cousin will pick them up periodically. But it's basically just that unit, my cousin, her boyfriend, the children, and my parents that are just stuck together all the time, and they don't do anything else. They don't venture out with any other people, so they're kind of their own little unit, even if they don't all live in the same house. And yeah, so that's kind of been what they've been up to. Whew. And I've been doing as much as I can to continue to stay the heck inside. Still ordering pretty much all of my food and supplies through home delivery services, and my partner does have to go into work periodically, and so they wear their mask and have their hand sanitizer and everything, and they try really hard to do social distancing, but not everybody they work with is compliant to those boundaries, so they feel a little bit like, because people will come in and want to talk and hang out, and even though they have their mask on, they're like, we shouldn't be this close together all the time, and that's pretty scary. And my job is still pretty much like, some people have to go in and they do, but for the most part I can still continue to work from home for quite some time, so that's what I'm just gonna keep doing. And it looks like, because we've had several meetings about planning on how to have everybody back, and it's kind of looking like we might not even be back until maybe next month or the month after, like early August, so we'll see. Alright. So you could see where my we have some time, but you could see where my DPN is right here, and this is how much further I have to go. So we're not quite halfway there, but we're almost to the end where we can start to do our knitting before we can bind off, so that's nice. So we'll just keep going a little bit here. Let me know in the comments. I know you're probably tired of hearing people talk about the pandemic, but how are you treating it right now? I'm speaking of as a person who doesn't want to just think it doesn't exist anymore and then go about my life as much as I probably would like to. I know that's a little bit risky, but I have seen a lot of people that I know taking pictures of hanging out with friends, going to public events and things, and treating this like nothing has happened, as if everything is normal, no mask, no social distancing, and it's alarming to me. Now, let me know, because some of the places haven't opened up yet, and some have. So even so, I am surprised that they don't think. I mean, one person literally lives in Las Vegas and went back to our hometown to hang out for like a visit with family and stuff, and they're like, "Oh, I'm over here. Now I'm over here. Who wants to hang out? Who wants to go to this club and go dancing?" And for one, I'm like, we're all like in our early 30s. A lot of people I know have kids now, and it's like they're asleep. Like, what are you talking about? They have kids. They need a sitter. They aren't about to go hang out at the bars and the clubs. But this person, like, her job is like to be a hostess kind of a person. Like, she does club things and events and stuff. So she's like a bikini barista, and then she does like party stuff because it's Vegas, and I guess they do stuff like that there. But it's like, okay, well, your lifestyle obviously is a little bit more lively, I guess, than the average 30-year-old or 31, 32-year-old person. So it was kind of funny because, like, the post, she's like, who wants to go to the club? And I'm like, one, how is the club open right now? And two, who do you think is gonna want to go last minute like that? But yeah, a lot of people had replied to her and were like, sorry, I'm already in bed. And I was like, ha. But anyway, so maybe she's like one of the more extreme examples, but there are definitely a lot of people that I've seen that I know that are acting like nothing is wrong, and there isn't anything that could kill them at any moment, or someone they love that's just floating around. And let me know if you know people like that. Are you a little more cautious like me and prefer to not do anything like that? Or are you feeling like it's fine? Is your country or state or hometown acting as if people are kind of like cool to go and do stuff? Or is everybody in your area still being pretty cautious about social distancing and making sure everybody has a face mask and everything like that? I'd like to know, because I don't know, it just seems like more and more people are starting to like loosen up a little bit, and I'm like, yeah, not me. No, thank you. I'm still gonna wear my face mask. I'm not going to any concerts. I'm not going to any events. There's somebody who's getting married in a little while, and I'm not even sure if I'm gonna go to. I mean, I really would like to go to be there for them, but I don't know. I'm gonna have to hear what their plan is to make sure people can go and be safe before I say I'm gonna go. It's so crazy to think of what the rest of the year might look like. Very strange to think we're 6 months into the year and this is our reality. The new normal. I think it's just interesting. Let me know in the comments, is there something that you used to do before the pandemic that you really wish you could still do? Is there something that's like, oh man, I haven't done XYZ so long, I really miss doing that? I would like to know. I mean, of course, if it's not something you don't want to share, then you are obviously not obligated to share, but I'm curious. The one thing I can say that let's see, is there one thing? Yeah, it's probably the book club. Um, it was my chance to get out of my local area, to go to the city, to socialize in person with a friend, and the people who are in the club with me. And even though I have been in virtual like hangouts and things, it was actually really fun because I don't think I told you guys that on Wednesday last week, I had a Google Hangout dinner date with a friend of mine who I've had like some happy hours with through Zoom, and we literally haven't since the day we met. Like, we met at a conference, and we found out we both work in the same state, and we found out that we had a mutual friend who I used to work with directly, and we're like, crazy small world. So we just kept in touch, but that was in November when we met in person for the first time. And it was like April-ish, I think, when we kind of hung out in Google. So we haven't hung out in person since we met each other. And we had ordered food from the same restaurant. She ordered food from the one near her, and I ordered food from the one near me, and we had our dinner date. And it was funny because it was just like if we went out to eat together. We ordered from the same restaurant, so it's kind of like that. So that was fun. But that connection isn't the same to me as if I was in person. So my book club is something that I miss, and I try not to think about it because it was like my way away from my area, which is a little isolating because I don't have any friends that live near me. I live very close to where I work, so that separation is like non-existent. And now that I'm stuck in a home where my sanctuary that used to be my peace and my quiet and my separation is now nothing but what I do for a living. And yeah, so it's been kind of crazy that way. So yeah, the book club is something that I miss. And they still have like announcements for things, but honestly, my library doesn't have e-access to this material, and I prefer to use the library to get the material to read because a lot of the times it's something I do not want to buy and add to my collection. And even if it was an ebook, because it's cheaper than the physical book, I still don't want to pay money for something that I don't want. So I just can't justify buying something to read for this one book club, and I'm never going to read it again. So I prefer to use the library, read the material. If I really like it, then I might buy it later just to have that collection, but that's happened only a few times. Like yeah, I could probably count on my hand how many times I've actually bought the book and was like, yes, I like this. But when I first started out at the book club, because I was a newbie, I thought I should be buying all the books. And then I realized I really don't like these in my collection. And they're not catered to me, so I don't want them. And so after that, I just, began to rely more on the library. So, we are here. But yeah, that's what I miss, my book club. One day, even my friend that used to work with me who got me hooked on the book club had sent me a message online. She's like, I miss you. I was like, I know, I miss you too, but I'm not going to pay money for these crazy books this book club leader is suggesting. I go there for more of the experience than it is just the books too. Because sometimes I'm just like, what are we reading, guys? And then sometimes we get a good one, and I'm like, I like that. So, not related, but interesting, because it kind of brought me to a realization. I'm only tying this in because a long time, well, it seems like a long time ago, but December-ish, maybe even it might have been like January, early January, because it was it was right before the pandemic, but it was still like early stages where people hadn't shut anything down. Nobody was enforcing any kinds of rules and restrictions. It was just like, hey, there's a virus, and hey, China shut down right now, and we're like, oh wow, that's not good, but that's very interesting. And it was kind of like at that point, but I had some job interviews, and I was really excited about them, and I told you guys that I had some. And now, with everything happening, I have heard back that I was not one of the people that they decided to move forward with, and that's okay. Part of that process revealed to me some things that kind of made me kind of pause about the places, but not, not entirely like, oh my gosh, I dodged a bullet. Except for one place. One place I did dodge a bullet, but the other two were like, these could have been like some very awesome opportunities for me, but, c'est la vie. I usually don't worry about it too much because I like to think that it means something better is coming my way. However, they were like really nice gigs, so I am sad about that. But one place that I interviewed for was actually a former employer. I used to work there and then left when I went back to school. And then when I found out that one of my supervisor's positions was vacant, I contacted another supervisor who I worked with and was like, hey, I see this position's open. What do you think? And they're like, yeah, apply. So with their encouragement, I put in my application. I got through, got the interview, and I was in this like kind of group setting, chatting with some of the people who worked there, and I had mentioned my book club, and one of the people who I would have supervised was like, oh, that sounds cool. I know of one of those books you guys read, and I'm interested. So later on, I was like, yeah, it's really awesome. I emailed them after. I was like, yeah, I remember our conversation. Here's some more information about our book club and, what we have reading coming up and stuff. And so that kind of reminded me of the book club as a way to connect with people. But when I got the word that I was not their pick, I was like, ooh, well, now I'm really curious who they hired, because it's not like a crazy large network of people that, there are way more people than I know in my field, but at the same time, it's like, you kind of start to learn who people are too, so it's like, I wonder who. And nothing new on their site, nothing new about staffing or anything like that for a long time. Finally yesterday, I was just like, why not? I was in the middle of editing. I thought, I'll just take a peek really quick while my video's converting to be upload safe. And I find out that the person who got the job is a sibling of somebody who was kind of like that position, kind of like an in between before the new person came, so kind of like filling in. But that person works for that company for almost 20 years. They both worked for a very long time at this company, but like different departments. And I was just like, so the sister got the job of the person who already works in that department. Interesting. So when I see that, now let me know if you agree or not. I mean, I was talking with one of my coworkers about it because she knew I was looking and had applied to that job, and I'm like, guess what? I just saw that the person who was hired is related to the person who was kind of filling in and happens to still be at that place. And she's like, oh yeah. So I don't like it when companies, and maybe you've experienced this, maybe you haven't, but I have witnessed it, where companies will do a fake search where they well, I wouldn't say pull out all the stops, but they go through all of the motions of hiring, selecting, qualifying candidates, but then they end up either like hiring somebody internal, somebody who knows somebody, and it becomes like this weird little network. And it's happened in the place I work now, and it's happened in other places I've worked, and I'm just like, something's not right about that. I honestly think that, somebody, I feel like, okay, if you're gonna have somebody from the inside move up, just promote that person, or just have that person come in. Don't set other people up to waste their time if you already know you're not gonna hire them. Like, why would you do that? That's what I get mad about. It's not so much that they hired her, but that they wasted everyone else's time if they already knew they were going to hire that person. And I'm not saying that this is what happened, but it strongly leans towards that because of me working there before and knowing how to have things go, and working at other places and seeing it happen firsthand and what that process looks like. Just like, why would you waste anyone's time? I don't like that. But anywho, so I am still here at my place of employment, still looking for something, and my supervisor, like my direct supervisor and the supervisor above my direct, are aware of my journey to other things. So it's not any kind of weird secret. Hasn't been. Actually, when I started my job, I was very clear that it was like, this isn't my forever place, and they understood that, just based on, what it entails and the experience and growth or lack of growth in that position. They were well aware that it was like a stepping stone position. So I was like, no. But with this pandemic, I have not seen a lot of things opening up based on what my profession is, what I am seeking, and what is being offered at a salary that makes sense for what the job is asking you to do. And it was kind of like that at the recession too, where there was just a lot of low wage jobs. There were jobs, but they weren't anything where people could really like move up and pay off all those crazy student loans that we all had when we graduated. If you're also from the recession era of graduating folk, then you might remember how tricky it was to get a job that actually paid well. So I'm like, gosh darn it, here we are again. Just when I was trying to get out of here, there's nothing or there's not much that pays well. So yeah, that's how we go. Alright, so we are only a few more rows in, but we're getting closer. Now that we have our DPN right here, we have about an inch and a half left until we're at the end of our bow for my buddy. Once again, if you haven't yet provided me with a suggestion for what gender and name my friend should be, please let me know, because I don't want them to remain nameless. I guess it could be whatever name or gender, because it's just going to be a named animal. My Persian kitty cat, my ginger kitty that I don't have. It's so funny because I have never had a ginger kitty, and my partner, it was funny because I was eavesdropping last night when I was working on my videos, and my partner was talking with some friends online, and Kabu was meowing in the background, and somebody must have heard and was like, oh, what's that? And then my partner's like, oh, that's just my cat, you know, she just wants some attention. And they started talking about pets and stuff, and my partner, I was going to interrupt, but I'm like, no, I'll let them speak, because they, one, said that Kabu was black and white. And you've seen Kabu. She is a tabby through and through. She is brown, stripy with black and dark brown, but she's brown for the most part. And then they were talking about how they wanted, what did they call it? A mottled colored cat, which was a tortie. They forgot what a tortie is, a tortoiseshell cat. And I was just like, it's a tortie. It's a tortie. And then I heard them say that they, at first, when they became like interested in cats, they did not want a ginger cat. And I actually really did want a ginger cat. And if you remember my story about Koji and how he came to my life, I was originally going to have a ginger cat, but my friend who was fostering him and his siblings, her in-laws had laid claim to the one ginger cat that was in the litter, and so I went with my second option, which was Koji, because he was fuzzy. So I was like, ginger cat or fuzzy cat, and I'll get the little scrappy looking fuzzy cat, and he turned out to be so beautiful. But yes, so this is now my ginger cat, since I don't have a real one. This little Persian friend is my new buddy, and in the comments, please let me know what you think their name should be, because I think I'll take a chance and let you guys help me name them. Also, you'll see in the description box that August we're going to have a knit along with the Knit the Family pattern by Niche Designs. Her Ravelry page is going to be down there, as well as the link directly to the pattern. For the month of June, all of her sales are being donated to Black Lives Matter movements and other charities and organizations that do support racial justice, and I am very much appreciative of that. And so if you would like to join us for the August knit along, please do check out that pattern, and make sure you buy it during the month of June so that the proceeds do go to a good cause. But if you don't buy it in June, then you're still supporting a pattern maker, which is great, but very much would say thank you if you did buy that pattern before the end of the month, so that the proceeds do go to a cause that I think is important as a person of color, as a black woman in America who is often profiled, and I have stories, but I don't want to dwell on that here, and I do think that it'd be very beneficial if you do support the cause. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!